For this week's class, I'm happy to be joined by two practitioners who have a wealth of experience in B2B marketing. For the benefits of our viewer, let me have them introduce themselves. Alex?
Thank you, Doctor. I'm Alex Teo here from Singapore, running a B2B business for 18 years. The name of the company is Zero Sports. We are in the textile services for 26 years. And hopefully, we can see if we can continue to explore different markets and different countries and create more values for our consumers. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Prasanna Meduri. I worked for IBM and Microsoft over the last 18 years. I recently joined Graphene to help our team here as a startup look at analytical services and brand management services across the Asian landscape. Our goal is to work with businesses across this incredible region to see if we can land interesting ideas across the diverse geography.
Thank you, gentlemen. Let me start with Prasanna. Let's keep this very simple. How is B2B marketing different from B2C marketing?
I think the primary difference in B2B marketing is the decision-making process is quite different. In some cases, it's more complex, but in most cases, it's very, very different. Because of the complexity of the organization that ultimately consumes the idea, consumes the marketing that we sell to them. Because of that, we have to understand the nature of the organization that we sell to, the subtle nuances of what makes that organization succeed internally as well as externally, and build our messaging to resonate with that entity in that way, which is quite different from B2C marketing.
Right.
It tends to be quite a lot more complex in the way we look at it.
Right. And in your experiences here in Asia, is that concept similar between the West and here?
One of the things that I've had the opportunity to do is take global ideas and land it in the context of Asia. And what we've seen is Asia is very different.
Okay.
What we've learned that just because it works in another part of the world doesn't necessarily mean it is easy to transplant that idea into this geography. And I think it's true of almost any other set of any other region as well, but what we've found is the complexity of Asia does add that extra dimension. We've learned over the years that change or adoption of change is very different in Asia, both internally and externally. Inside an organization, how we deliver change as well as how it translates into the marketplace is very different. So a lot of the selling methodologies that we've learned as being very successful in the West don't necessarily translate well in our world. Neither do the marketing strategies sometimes, because we say, here's a set of ideas that resonate with all businesses across the world. And when we've tried to take those ideas and put them in the Asian context, they haven't necessarily worked.
Okay,
so
can you give us some examples of that, how you found these differences occur?
The total cost of ownership is one interesting concept. Many times when we justify the value of a product to a business, we use the concept of a total cost of ownership, trying to suggest that you don't just look at the cost of purchase, but the cost over the lifetime of the product, of the usage over a lifetime of the product. What we found is the single biggest factor that impacts TCO is cost of labor. And given the lower costs of labor in Asia, that whole selling methodology doesn't really work for us, doesn't really resonate for us. And so the way we've had to take that and adapt it so that it works in the Asian context varies from company to company.
Right.
But it's been quite consistent. We've not been able to take that idea very easily and put it here.
Right.
Similarly with value selling, the way we've defined value for customers varies in the West and in Asia. And what we've learned is just taking an advertisement from a market like the US and trying to transplant it rarely succeeds,
Okay.
even in the business context of it. And so we needed to understand how people react in their decision-making process,
Okay.
and how the communication that we put in front of them enables that and assists that transformation
Okay.
in their decision making.
Okay, let me now turn to Alex. Based on your experiences, what are some of the important factors in B2B marketing here in Asia, here in Singapore, let's say?
I guess I'll speak on a Singapore context. I guess in many of these B2B marketing, we have to take care of many different aspects of the particular organization, because like what previously they have said is the complexity. Decision is not made based on the rationale or certain numbers. I guess there's a lot of emotions part of it that was very clear in especially in Asia or even in Singapore.
Okay.
So a B2B is not like a consumer where you actually can fulfill one person's needs. You actually have to fulfill the entire organization decision makers. Everybody will have a say and everybody will try to make the best out of the decisions. And more importantly, at the back of this there might be hidden key decision maker that is actually have a big influence over the entire so-called decision making. So it's like what I said, it's a little bit more complex. And of course, that's why it's sometimes in a B2B branding, we also start to find how we justify this kind of branding to a certain extent, and how can we build good value propositions to these so-called partners. In B2B, we are more like partners. Even we more or less like not so much of being a consumer or so much being a one-time off. It's a long-term partnership that we try to build. So there's a lot of when you talk about partnerships, then there will be a lot of complications, a lot more things to consider also.
How do you build these partnerships, these relationships? How do you keep that sort of very sort of long?
Okay, I guess it's a lot of us must understand what our company can create. Or what our company values. And these values will actually run in, we call it the DNA of the culture of this company. And in order for these things, in order to have this cultural aspect of this company and knowing what we can create for our partners, then this bonding will start to take place. Meaning that we understand, the next step is to understand the needs of our partners and try to give them even better than what they expected. So these are the relationship buildings, is this where the bonding and the trust is being built. So this is a different, I would say, the next different thing, different levels of creations, relationships, or even satisfactions we are talking about. So this, I guess, is all stuff from the beginning, from top down, and then subsequently how this organization is going to build this together with another organization, and how this bonding is going to be stronger, in years to come. So there's a lot of other factors that we have to put into consideration.